Tim Fehlbaum's September 5 is a taut, gripping exploration of journalistic ethics, media spectacle, and the harrowing responsibility of reporting in real time. Set against the backdrop of the 1972 Munich Olympics, the film chronicles the dramatic events surrounding the hostage crisis involving Israeli athletes as seen through the eyes of an American broadcast newsroom. And I've got some thoughts, very positive ones, and I'd like to share them here. The story centers on Jeff Mason, played by Joe Magaro, a young, inexperienced producer thrust into an unimaginable situation on his first day. Tasked with leading a live broadcast, he faces ethical and practical dilemmas as the crisis unfolds in real time. Peter Sarsgaard plays Rune Arledge, a more seasoned, corporate-minded executive who balances journalistic ambition with the cold realities of ratings and network interests. Together, they navigate the chaos of a newsroom scrambling to document an event that would forever change the face of live journalism. "2024 was a remarkable year for movies about journalism, things like Civil War or Lee, and September 5 stands out for its laser-focused storytelling. While a lot of journalism films delve into investigative sagas or post-event reflections, this movie is unique in that it compresses all of its action into a single 14-hour day. And this tight time frame adds an electrifying urgency to the narrative, distinguishing it from comparisons to Spotlight or All the President's Men. Because here, the immediacy of live reporting takes center stage. One of the film's most compelling achievements is how it examines the ethics of media coverage without glorifying or vilifying its characters. Instead, Tim Fehlbaum and his team present a nuanced portrait of journalists as imperfect individuals grappling with impossible decisions. This is not about the heroics or exploitation often depicted in films about the media. It's a journalistic procedural that unfolds with almost documentary-like precision. And I gotta say, I love the world that this film exists within and the tactile nature of it. People are racing down halls, they're bursting into rooms, they're covered in sweat with cigarettes dangling out of their mouths, and smoke is filling up the room. They fire up old monitors, they grab rotary phones, and they communicate through walkie-talkies that are as big as their heads. For the first time in a while, I was watching a film set pre-1980, let's say, and I didn't get bogged down or pulled out by what you might consider iPhone face. It felt like I was in 1972 and watching a bit of neutral documentation of the events of that news studio. And stylistically, Fehlbaum also tries to mirror the analog realities of the time. You've got handheld camera work, post-production techniques that mimic high-contrast 16mm film, and an absence of a traditional score that creates a stark, almost suffocating realism. This quote-unquote documentary approach, I don't want to keep using that word, but it feels kind of appropriate. It just amplifies the tension and dread of the unfolding events. The cinematography by Marcus Forderer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, deserves special mention, in my opinion. His use of really sharp close-ups captures this claustrophobia of the newsroom and the moral weight of the decisions that they're making in the moment. The film also juxtaposes the horror of the hostage situation with the surreal normalcy of the Olympic Village continuing just outside the perimeter, a haunting reminder of how the world often moves forward indifferent to the tragedy. There's even a moment where, sort of in the beginning of this crisis, the events are still going on. There's a boxing match, and some of the newsroom employees are watching a TV in the back of the room, and they're cheering because one guy knocked out another guy, and everyone turns around how are you not paying attention to what's happening right now? And this film really does a great job of holding on to, from what I understand, accuracy over anything else, over sensationalism, over glorifying or romanticizing the role of journalism, both on a larger scale, but also romanticizing what these people had to go through, because at the end of the day, none of the people that were in that newsroom that day and were documenting this event were perfect, and the movie does a great job at displaying the mistakes that they made every step of the way. And when they made those mistakes, particularly one at the end of the film, there's a part of you that wants to judge them, but then there's another part of you that wants to ask yourself, well, what would I have done differently if I were in their shoes? And yeah, that's one of my favorite elements of the movie. Joe Magaro's performance of Jeff Mason is a standout His perpetually worried, sweaty expression is a perfect mix of vulnerability and determination. He really anchors this film. He captures the essence of a man overwhelmed, yet resolute, embodying journalism at its most noble, but also its most flawed. And Sarsgaard, as Rune Arledge, offers a fascinating counterpoint. His character has this pragmatism and corporate edge that provides a sharp contrast to Joe Magaro's character, who has this idealism about him. It creates this dynamic that reflects the duality of journalism, the balance between integrity and spectacle. And Leonie Benesch, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, plays this German translator named Marianne. She delivers one of the film's most poignant performances. Her character embodies Germany's post-war guilt and the nation's desperate attempts at proving itself on a global stage during the Olympics, only to stumble under the weight of their own past. This subtext, highlighting the historical and political tensions of 1972 Munich, really did a lot to enrich the narrative for me, offering a bit of a sobering commentary on history repeating itself. At its core, September 5 transcends its role as a simple dramatization of the tragic historical events, delving into the intricate and morally fraught mechanics of journalism in an age of mass spectacle. While the film captures the thrill of live reporting with producers racing down hallways, frantic phone calls with foreign correspondents, and the glow of analog monitors humming with urgency, it also presents a reflection on the ethical dilemmas inherent within the profession of journalism. The filmmakers pose tough, timeless questions that we still grapple with today. Does documenting tragedy ultimately serve the greater good, or does it risk sensationalizing suffering? Where should journalists draw the line between the public's right to know and the potential harm caused by exposing raw, unfolding trauma? And in a world increasingly driven by ratings and profit, can true journalistic integrity actually survive? And Feldbaum's decision to focus on the newsroom as a microcosm of these ethical conflicts is really particularly striking to me. I didn't know before going into this movie that it was going to take place entirely in the newsroom, and it was a really pleasant surprise. The film strips away any physical proximity to the actual hostage crisis, leaving us audience members to experience the story through the lens of those who were tasked with communicating it to the entire world. I believe they said at the end of the film, 900 million people tuned in to watch this broadcast. Kind of unfathomable. And this distance creates a bit of a dual-layered tension. We witness not only the horror of the event, but also the burden of those who were there to interpret it in real time and had to do so with incomplete information a lot of the time. This film, to my eyes, offers a nuanced portrayal that avoids oversimplifying the issue. Journalists in September 5 are not heroes or villains, like I mentioned earlier. They're human beings navigating an impossibly gray landscape and gray situation, making decisions under pressure that may haunt them long after the cameras stop rolling. The film challenged me as an audience member to consider my own role as a consumer of the news. Am I complicit in the demand for immediacy and spectacle, and does that shape the way that events are reported? And also, the movie connects the ethical struggles of 1972 to the present day, where the stakes are arguably even higher. In an era of instantaneous reporting, 24-hour news coverage, social media leaks, and deepfake technologies, the line between journalism and entertainment is blurrier than it's ever been. What would a hostage crisis of this magnitude look like today, where millions of live viewers might scrutinize every decision in real time? Tim Feldbaum and the rest of the filmmakers underscore the human cost of this journalistic endeavor, showing the mental strain of the newsroom staff becoming increasingly evident as the crisis wears on. You could see throughout the movie that Jeff's sleepless, wide-eyed determination gives way to moments of quiet despair, while other staffers retreat to gallows humor or detached professionalism just to cope with what they're seeing. And these small human details reminded me that while the media is often criticized as an entity, it is composed of individuals carrying the weight of enormous decisions. And the film's haunting conclusion, to me, drove this message home, because as the final broadcast wraps up, the day is done, everyone's been working for 14 hours straight or longer, Jeff quietly looks at Marianne and he says, "I'll see you tomorrow." Not the way that I just said it. He says it way more solemnly than that. But this understated moment speaks volumes about the relentless nature of journalism, that no matter the weight of today's story, the work continues, and the cost of bearing witness is one that journalists have to carry indefinitely. At a brisk 95 minutes, September 5 is a no-nonsense, tightly constructed, gritty film that leaves a lasting impact, at least it left a lasting impact on me. Tim Fehlbaum's direction avoids sanctimony, delivering a serious story with a cool, analytical eye. If you're a fan of journalism dramas or historical thrillers, September 5 is a must-watch. It's a film that challenges us to reflect on the role of media in documenting history, for better or worse. After seeing this film, I can probably conclude that if I were doing an amendment in my 2024 year in review, it's probably in my top 20 movies of the year. It really, really had a profound impact on me. And I've heard a lot of people talking about it as like the child that the Academy is forgetting about, or that the movie industry is forgetting about. And it did get a nomination at the Golden Globes, a singular one for Best Motion Picture in a Drama category. We could see it doing big things later on, but it also does kind of seem like a movie that is being forgotten a little bit. And I really do think it's worth everyone's time. But if you've seen the movie, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Head down to the comments and let me know. If you are looking forward to seeing the movie, let me know. Also, hit the subscribe button. Go follow me on Letterboxd, and you can see what I'm watching, when I'm watching it in real time. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Thanks for supporting the channel.